We're called to weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice, and I need to know why my friends would weep.
CURE stands for Clergy United for Racial Empathy. It was a group that was formed in response to the controversy around Governor Northam and the blackface incident. As a result of that, there was just this need among clergy to say, we've never really interrogated the history of Virginia's history of race. So there were a group of us that got together and decided to form this clergy bus ride. We would visit sites that were significant in Virginia's racial history.
This is a group of 23 of us, clergy and faith leaders. Many of us just wanted to form deeper relationships. We know that relationships are the way that people change. That's the direction of our faith. Everyone signed up to be part of this because they wanted to learn, and they wanted to be vulnerable, and they wanted to be real, and they wanted to be authentic, but they also wanted to interrogate the places where the racial history of the state happened.
What we knew was we couldn't say that we were another racial reconciliation group. We liked the words racial empathy, because reconciliation is often what white people want to jump to, but you can't do that unless you actually know some of the stories and what needs to be reconciled.
Here in Richmond, where the Lumpkins jail is situated, it's down the hill from the church where Patrick Henry says, "Give me liberty or give me death."
How do we go to the places where these painful historical moments happened and share in a trustworthy environment so that empathy is cultivated? Because when you really have empathy for someone else, that is when reconciliation is actually possible.
We have to help people to understand that it's okay to just listen. African Americans who've experienced, such atrocities, when we've dealt with such traumatic pain, we just want people to hear us. In this particular instance, when we're talking about race and racial reconciliation and race relations, I really do believe in the ministry of presence. I think a ministry of presence just means sometimes you have to listen and not offer any commentary. Just be there and try to soak in as much as you possibly can about somebody else's experience, about whatever it is that's taking place around you. And you don't always have to attempt to provide an answer or try to add some commentary.
In fact, I feel the emotions coming up now. I've been here all my life. I have realized that I've gotten used to it, and my families have gotten used to it. In fact, they wonder, why am I even on this trip? We talk about the other side not wanting to talk about it, but our families do not want to bring that pain up, but learn to live the best way we can.
I grew up with a Civil War buff father, so in my home, that was a reality. I managed to live 37 years as a Virginian without any formal place to learn the reality of what Virginia is. And so I'm feeling angry right now that I never learned some of the things I've learned in the last 3 days.
But the truth is, you're not going to get rid of your biases, and you're not going to get rid of your lack of open mindset in 3 days. It's a process. Learning about our racial history and learning how we interact with that and the biases we bring to that and the privilege that many of us bring to it. I mean, I'm a white male, so I've got the most in the room. But to acknowledge that, that's a sanctification process. What are we all experiencing, and how might we work together in such a way to create a greater awareness in our community, and especially amongst the faith community, of how we impact each other, but also how we might grow together and walk together into the future in a way that would be different from the 400-year racial history of our country.
Danville, Virginia, has long been one of Virginia's primary industrial centers. Danville is proud of its quiet residential areas, which surround the business and industrial heart of the city. The many old homes are a reminder of the city's colorful past, when it served briefly as capital of the Confederacy.
As long as the Negro is not free in Danville, Virginia, the Negro is not free anywhere in the United States of America.
So I grew up in Danville, and I knew of it as the world's best tobacco market and the last capital of the Confederacy. But even growing up in that town, I never had a history lesson about Bloody Monday, had never known it existed, did not know anything about Martin Luther King Jr.'s visits to the town or some of the ways that folks whose kids and parents sat next to me in school had been personally affected by historical events. It was absent in my education, and I am trying to figure out why.
Use whatever means are at our command to enforce this decision.
We will defy the injunction. I have been arrested in the city of Danville some 5 times. I have been to jail before. I'm willing to go to jail again.
June 10th stands out above all the other moments of marching and demonstrating, because that's when my wife was beaten severely by the chief of police. And the sad thing about that is that it took Danville many years to admit that they actually beat the demonstrators as we were fighting for our human rights.
This church right here was the focus. We had all our mass meetings here. Everybody would put in a dime, quarter, 50 cents, and that helped us with our movement. We would come here at this church and conduct workshops to show us how to demonstrate, what to do if we were confronted. Andrew Young taught some of the workshops. He would tell us, now when you march, if you get spit at or rocks thrown at you, you're not to retaliate. We were nonviolent. We were supposed to just go limp and let them arrest us.
I've seen some brutal things on the part of policemen all across the South in our struggle, but very seldom, if ever, have I heard of a police force being as brutal and vicious as the police force here in Danville, Virginia.
You could look across the street here, and on top of the armory building, on the roof, they had the guns pointed at this church. So you were afraid to go out or come in. So it was just anything they could to intimidate us.
The demonstrations actually started in May of '63 at the library up on Main Street near the museum when Martin Luther King came to Danville.
We have certainly been with you in spirit, and we have agonized with you as you have faced the brutality and the ruthlessness of a vicious police force.
That night that Dr. King spoke at the City Auditorium, Bishop Campbell introduced Dr. King. He was saying that in America we have the KKK, but tonight we have Kennedy, Khrushchev, and King. My father had told me, don't go downtown, demonstrate. He worked in Dan River Mills. I had other siblings, and so it was quite a pressure on my family. Knowing my brothers and sisters were downtown June 10th, I said, no, I'm going downtown. He told me to stay home. And you know what? I was the first one that was arrested.
We marched downtown and stood on the courthouse steps. Each of us had a plaque or poster that we held up in protest of the segregation.
We wouldn't leave the mayor's office, it was 5 o'clock. They took Bishop Campbell, the policeman took him literally like trash men, throwing garbage up on the trash truck, and threw him down the steps and arrested him in the municipal building. They beat people, sent people to Winslow Hospital. Oh, it was terrible.
One of the police walked forward and said to us in a harsh voice, "I command you to leave." And Reverend McGee said, "Let us bow our heads in prayer." And so we bowed our heads in prayer, but I was looking. So watch and pray. He said, "Pray, watch and pray." So I did look, I peeped, and I learned some things. I saw this big red truck. The driver got out and he started unwinding a big pipe, connected up everything and turned it on us at full force. And it was so strong, there was no way you could stand on your feet, because I was thrown against a state car.
And as a result of that Monday night, added to the Monday morning with the fire hoses, it's called Bloody Monday. I was only 15 years old. I was forced out of the demonstrations because they put pressure on my parents. The day that I was arrested, they went to Grant Street and arrested my mother, went up to the Dan River Mill, arrested my father. They charged them with contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
I was 15. The night of Bloody Monday, my mama told me, "You better not leave this porch." And for once I did what she told me to. I stayed at home. But after I heard about all of the things that were done, nothing was going to keep me away. You just felt compelled. At first, you may not have understood all of the nuances that were going on, but after you did that first march, it was in your blood, and you were determined.
The simple fact that injustice is here. And I feel that wherever injustice is alive, it is a responsibility for people of goodwill to take a stand against it. For injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
There have been remarkable changes in Danville. We cannot sit here justifiably and say that it has not changed, because history has shown us that it has changed tremendously.
Our race is something else. We've endured, we've removed blocks that nobody thought we could remove. I know it's still obstacles in our way, but if we don't teach our children, they are destined to repeat